Hello, welcome to Beyond the Boundary. This is a preview for the first semi-final.
It's Fremantle versus Port Adelaide, Saturday night at Patterson Stadium. They've met twice this year in round 8 at Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide won that one by 18 points. Robbie Gray got the 3 votes, Nathan Fyfe got the 2, and Chad Wingard got the 1. These are the votes from our group, of course. Last time they met, the most recent time, round 23 at Patterson Stadium. Fremantle won that one by 8 points. Lockie Neal got the 3 votes, Robbie Gray got the 2, and Jay Schultz got the 1. Fremantle have won 7 of the last encounters between these two sides, and this game will be Michael Walters' 50th game. We'll take a quick look at the finals path. Fremantle, of course, lost to Sydney last week. They go through to the first semi-final. Port Adelaide beat Richmond by a comprehensive margin. They come through to meet them. The winner of this game will play Hawthorn in the second preliminary final. We will start with Fremantle. They lost to Sydney by 24 points in the weekend, boys. What do we make of it?
Yeah, well, I watched parts of this game. Obviously, I was on my way to the MCG Saturday night, but I watched parts of this game, and Sydney really took control of the game early against the Fremantle Dockers. But Fremantle were very good in the second half. They challenged Sydney time and time again, but just couldn't reel them in.
I was thinking it was the other way around. I thought Freo challenged them well in that first half, were with them for most of it, and then just lost the touch in that second half. They didn't seem to be running as hard. Sydney just beat them around the ground. More players for Sydney lifted. I think it was just, I thought Freo were with them for most of the game there, but they just couldn't stick with them for the whole game. And whether that was down to, they were lacking some key personnel this week, whether that was the cause of it or whether just they got outdone by a better Sydney team is up for debate. But
well, I think the key outs probably played a part because Lance Franklin really broke the game apart. I think in the third quarter it was kicking goals from all angles, as we know he can. But I guess the lack of a Luke McFarlane or a Michael Johnson to lock down on him could have played a part there. For the Dockers, Tendai Mzungu I thought was very, very good for him.
He was. He's been excellent all year, and he's one of those guys that's a very, very good utility player.
Yep.
We see it in every side. We see a good utility. At Geelong, it's Jimmy Bartel. In every team, you'll see a very good utility player, and I think he's the Fremantle utility as such. He's played forward, he's played on a wing, he's played in the midfield, and he's played off half-back. So, and he just, played that kind of role on the weekend. He had 21 touches, 2 goals, but then he had 4 rebound 50s as well. So, tells you about his...
He covers the ground really, really
well. He does,
well.
yeah.
Josh, in the absence of those outs that we talked about, Garrick Ibbotson was a player who really needed to stand up. He took 5 marks, 3 of which were contested. I thought he did well.
Yeah, absolutely. He played that loose man in defence for most of the game, really, to give Zach Dawson and Alex Silvani, who I didn't think had their colours lowered, to be honest. I thought they did a very, very good job.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Tippett only kicked, 1 goal?
1 goal. And Franklin
finished with 3, yeah.
Finished with 3. But Garrick Ibbotson is that type of player who will just put his body on the line for the team. And that's what he did on a number of occasions. Against the Swans on Saturday afternoon. So I thought he was fantastic.
He was actually a very good half-back player a couple of years ago. Probably their number one. Him and Broughton across that half-back line were really good. So he's getting
before he got injured yet.
But he's back in some form now.
Aaron Sandilands finished with 42 hit-outs. He was absolutely dominant out there.
Well, a lot of Freo supporters are a little peeved that he didn't make the All-Australian
squad.
Yeah. Oh, no, he's made the squad.
Oh, he's made the squad.
But the rumour is that he didn't make the team.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that...
Sam Jacobs was had a much better year.
I agree, but I'm just saying a lot of Fremantle fans aren't happy about it. But he showed us how dominant he can be on the weekend. I mean, 42 hit-outs, had 13 disposals as well. He's... he gets a lot of hit-outs. Whether he gives his midfielders first use or not is something that, we can talk about. Yep, but, when you've got your big man getting his hand on the ball first time, every single time, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, boys, Lockie Neal has been a key player almost every time these two teams go. On the weekend against Sydney, he had 16 contested possessions and 8 clearances. He was great.
Absolutely. He's had a breakout year for me, Lockie Neal. He wore the sub-vest, I think,
a lot
last year.
A lot.
Even in the grand final, I think is where I was
correct.
Looking at. He wore the sub-vest then, he's broken that. I don't think he's worn it once this year. So,
and he'll never wear it again.
No, he's having an absolutely outstanding year. He's that nuggety type of player. Our key word for the show.
We do love the nuggety, yes.
But he's regularly getting 30 possessions now.
Oh, yeah.
He's just having a...
And he'll love never getting the tag.
Yeah.
To me, he reminds me a lot of Brandon Ellis. I think you guys will agree, because he plays in a team where the midfielders above him will always get tagged before him. He'll Barlow Fife, attract all the attention, and Mundy. But the one thing that I think you're about to say is that this man knows how to win contested ball.
You read my mind.
Yep. Brandon Ellis, I think at one stage he had 33 touches and 0 contested, but this man had 16 contested.
Yeah,
So
8 clearances. It's just phenomenal.
Someone who really stands out. Another defender for Fremantle who worked really well in the absence of some of his defensive counterparts was Paul Duffield. He went at 95% efficiency. He took 9 marks. Also had 7 rebound 50s. He played an absolutely brilliant game.
Severely underrated player for me.
Yep.
Paul Duffield.
He is. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, he's one of these rebounding defenders you don't hear too much about.
Yeah.
You hear a lot about the Hearns and the Taylors and the
Brody
Hibberts
Smith
and the Brody Smiths and all that. You very rarely hear about guys like Paul Duffield over there in the West.
22 disposals he had for that 95%.
And he's very versatile.
Absolutely.
And the reason you don't hear about him is because often he'll switch, he'll trade in his rebounding defender vest for a key position defender role.
Yeah.
So he does that a lot. So good on Paul Duffield. He's a very key player for them.
Another player who will be absolutely key for them this week, Matthew Pavlich,
Oh, yeah.
threatened to break that game apart. He finished with 4 goals.
I am crowning him now Mr. September. He just steps up.
I'd agree with you there, yeah.
He just steps up.
The other more happy chappy.
If his team doesn't win or loses,
Yep.
he steps up regardless and plays a massive, massive role.
What do you think about this, Nick? He had 19 disposals to go with his
As a
4
key
goals.
forward, yeah.
That is unbelievable. Well, we all know that he used to be a midfielder.
Yeah.
So it's beyond question that, it's not even in question that he can win his own ball.
Well, he's won AAs in the back line.
Midfield.
One of the most
Midfield.
versatile
Didn't he even
players.
have one in the ruck?
He did play in the ruck. I think he was all Australian.
He's
in the
had
ruck.
7 of them, so...
Yep. So he does everything. He's a bit like Adam Goods, I think.
Yeah, very unique player. And last of all for the Dockers, Zach Dawson took 6 marks, had 8 spoils for them. He was very good down back. What's so
What are you
funny?
laughing?
He did a good job, Zach.
Zach Dawson?
Yep.
Vinay doesn't rate Zach Dawson.
No, I didn't
There's
say
no
that.
secret.
I didn't say that.
But you don't, do you?
He had 6, no. But he had 6 marks and he had 8 spoils.
Yeah.
I dream of the day where Zach will take a mark. Yep. And there's a man 30 metres in the clear. Zach is perfectly capable of kicking it to him.
Yep.
But he won't. He'll still handball it 20 metres sideways so that somebody else will kick it to them. I dream
that's
of the
a
day where
decent
Zach...
handball.
To be fair, Zach Dawson has played his role very, very well this year.
He has. Without doubt.
And it's absolutely vital that he continues to in the absence
Look,
of
why does
Johnson
he,
in
to
the
be
front.
honest, to rebut myself, he doesn't need to kick it if he's doing, his defensive job correctly.
Absolutely. He doesn't need to get a touch if his opponent's not getting a touch.
Exactly. Yeah.
And for 3 and a bit quarters, where Buddy kicked those 2 freakish goals,
Yeah.
he kept Bud to 1 goal.
And,
So-
it's always given that Franklin's going to kick some ridiculous goal from,
definitely.
a night upon impossible angle.
Now,
But
guys,
continue.
we've got to move on. There's one thing I wanted to mention quickly. Nathan Fife, he had 29 touches, 7 clearances, and 5 inside 50s, which would otherwise sound like quite a good game. He actually went at 59% disposal efficiency, and he finished with 8 clangers. He wasn't as effective as they would have liked him to be if they were going to win that game.
Always been his problem.
Always been a problem for him.
His disposal efficiency has always been his problem. It's slightly improved this year,
Yep.
but it still needs work.
Well, I think he gets a lot of clearances, Nathan Fife, and I wouldn't be surprised. He had 7 clearances there, 8 clangers. I wouldn't be surprised if about 5 of those clearances went straight to, some man that was sitting behind the...
Oh, yeah.
So he wins a lot of clearances, and we do give some leeway to those players, the Josh Kennedys and the Nathan Fifes of our game, but you're right, to take that next step up, he needs to... And, for most of the year, he looked like he'd improved it, to be honest. It's just now that he's struggling with it.
Before we go into Port Adelaide, boys, Hayden Ballantyne in a bit of doubt this week with a jaw injury. He's probably about 60-40 at the moment. They're hopefully he'll play, but in a little bit of doubt. Michael Barlow was seen on crutches coming back from the airport.
That was only released an hour ago, that update, but Fremantle have said that it's precautionary.
Luke McFarlane is no certainty to play, probably unlikely.
It sounds
to
like
play.
it'd be unlikely, yep.
So,
Well,
injury riddled.
I think this is one week where they can afford to get away with not having a big defence. Because Port don't have that many forward options, but we'll get to that soon.
Anyway, we'll move on to Port Adelaide that defeated Richmond by 57 points. Absolute comprehensive belting in that first half. First quarter, especially. Travis Spoke led from the front, 16 contested possessions, 12 clearances. Terrific game from him.
Very, 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 very good game of football by Travis Spoke. He had the pressure on him with that comment about Troy Chaplin earlier in the year, and didn't he step up?
We talk about
phenomenal.
We talk about the impact of clearances on your efficiency. Travis Spoke went at 79% and he had 12 clearances.
Yeah.
So that shows you that it can be done, that you can actually look up and hit a target or at least, win a 50-50 ball.
Yep. Absolutely terrific. He's an absolute key player for their finals campaign. A young player who's really coming through now. Ollie Wines, 7 marks on the weekend. He also had 24 disposals. He was great for them.
Mini boat?
I reckon he's going to be better.
Oh. You reckon he'll be better? That's a big call.
No. I reckon Ollie Wines will one day be a top 5 player in the competition.
Well, this is unbelievable because he's kicked 2 goals, had 3 score assists, and he's had 24 touches at 83%.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable. Those figures is unbelievable.
He's just a phenomenal footballer, and I hold me to that statement. He will be a top 5 player in the competition.
Oh, I don't doubt that.
Possibly as early as next year.
Another player.
Oh, I don't know about that. But
I don't know about that.
We'll see, yep.
Another player who people think might one day be a top 5 player in the competition is Chad Wingard. He's had an up and down
I
season.
thought you were about to say Tom Jonas there.
No, we'll get on to him. But Chad Wingard, he was great on the weekend. 6 inside 50s for him.
Yep. He's the player that consistency, when he gets it, he will be unstoppable.
Yeah.
He's got the buddy gene, I like to call it. The gene, the ablet, the buddies, they have it, where no matter how many people try and stop you or tag you, you still cut them up.
Yeah.
And
He's
got that gene.
he's really a bit of an X Factor player.
He is.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying. You know, Buddy's kind of like that kind of player, but Wingard, he's the kind of guy that can get 30 touches and kick 4 goals on you if you let him go. And he's still only 20, 21 years old.
Yeah.
So he's strung together some very consistent games, Josh.
Yeah, in the last month or so, he really has. He had that quiet period of 2-3 months.
He got the tag every game.
He got the tag, and he's really stepped up.
Having said that, it's a bit of a theme of the day. He's had just 1 clearance, but he's got 50% disposal efficiency. That's an area of the game that he can improve on as well.
Disposal efficiency, the topic of the show.
Topic of the show this week.
Correct.
Tom Jonas was great. He had 12 marks and 5 rebound 50s for the Power.
At 82% efficiency.
At 82%.
I'm going to tell you, the Port Adelaide defence is the most unsung defence in the entire competition. If you mention names like Tom Jonas, Jack Homsch, Alapati Carlisle,
Jackson Trengo,
Jasper Pittard, Jackson Trengo.
We talk about
people would have no idea who are those guys.
We talk about how much of a well-rounded team they are,
Yeah.
and a lot of the time it's the bottom 6 players, you say, Josh, are the key to winning a game. And at Port Adelaide, they really stand up. They're the unsung heroes of that club.
Yeah, for sure. And their defence is unbelievable. I mean, you never hear about how good their defence does a job every single week.
Yeah.
But they're just terrific, and Tom Jonas is one of them.
Robbie Gray, he had 25 disposals, finished with 5 score assists. He's having an amazing season.
He's got to be
up there, Brent Leonard.
He's got to be on track for breaking the score assist record. Seriously, I'm not kidding. I actually want to pull up the stat for all-time score assists. This guy is averaging at least 4 a game.
I'll do some digging during the week.
Thank you, Josh. Because every week it feels like Nick, we're saying he had 6 score assists. He had 5, 6, 4, 5. You know what I mean? He's just a beast of a human being. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Crowley climbed into his Guernsey and just sort of sat in there.
Well, we might talk about that a little bit later.
Yes.
Got to keep moving. 3 goals for Jack Need. He played a nice cameo role.
The need for speed, Josh.
And Jack Homsch, as he mentioned, was great. He had 8 marks, 5 rebound 50s, and 6 1%ers. Moving on to some of the key matchups this week, and I think probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, will be the ruck battle. Aaron Sandilands versus Matthew Lobe. Aaron Sandilands had 42 hitouts on the weekend. I think Matthew Lobe had just over 30 as well. Both been key players for their teams this year.
I think Matthew Lobe and Ivan Marek, I was closely following their ruck contest, and I thought it was relatively even.
Yeah.
I thought Marek, as he always does, beat Lobe around the ground.
Yeah.
Kicked a goal as well. But Lobe probably, the tackling department. We expected this. We foresaw this last week that this would happen. That's what happened. But I would say something similar. Sandlands and Lobe are a similar type of ruckman. They're not very mobile. They're bigger kind of blokes that rely more on their size and their ruck tap ability to, I would expect Lobe, he would have to improve his around the ground effort this week in order to beat Sandilands, because Sandilands will kill you in the ruck.
Yep. Josh?
Yeah, well, I completely agree with everything. With everything Vinay said, I mean,
Comprehensive wrap there.
Absolutely. Nothing I can't add to that.
Robbie Gray, I know Vinay is keen to talk about this matchup. Ryan Crowley will almost certainly go there.
I would climb into Robbie Gray's Guernsey and just sit in there like a jelly.
It's funny you say that, because Ryan Crowley went to Travis Boak 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, he went to the park, did he?
Well, that's a very good point you raised, Josh.
Kept him to 20 touches.
Well, you're right, because you look at the stats here. Robbie Gray, 25 touches, 80%, and a goal and 5 scores.
Yeah.
But then Trav Boak at 34, 12 clearances and a goal.
I think Boak's the kind of player who's really going to break the game apart regardless. I think there's real contested players. They're hard to take out of the game like that. I think Crowley can have more of an impact on the game if he shuts down Gray, stops him from really influencing the creative play going forward.
I honestly think Freo would have to send 2 tags in this game. I know they don't do it often, but honestly, Trav Boak and Robbie Gray, one of them, they're both game changers.
So who's the other tag?
Nick Subban hasn't been playing recently, has he?
He's been in and out, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that's maybe something they can consider because he's a good run with player. Same as Matty de Boer. He's another good run with player. I think there are some names in that Freo side on the weekend. Ross is a very strict coach and he wouldn't have been happy. I can tell you there'd be at least one name that deserves to be dropped.
Who's that?
Well, no, I'm saying that in his mind, he'd have at least one name that he feels should be on the out. And I wouldn't put it past him to bring in... They need to shut down Port's run and carry game. They need to do that. It's the only way they'll win. And
we speak about Port's fitness all year.
Yeah.
I mean, on a big wide ground, it's going to come into play.
Yeah.
And we saw that 2 weeks ago. That Fremantle got out to a 5-6 goal lead.
And Peddle came firmly off it, and Port Adelaide almost stole it from them if they had another 2 minutes.
That's exactly right.
Yep. Last matchup, Nick. What do you got for us?
There's a couple more. Nathan Fyfe versus Kane Corns, do we think?
Oh, yeah.
I'd
probably.
Oh, no doubt at all in my mind.
No.
But who else would you tag in that Freo? Apart from Stephen Hill. Nathan Fyfe.
I'd probably...
Stephen Hill?
Yeah.
I'm not sure Kane Corns is quick enough to...
I'd probably agree with you then.
Definitely not Kane Corns.
He might have to tie himself to Stephen Hill and just let himself be dragged.
Hanging on by his ankles.
Yep.
Mind you, you get in the right position, you stand on the right side of him, you won't allow him.
Well, Kane Corns took Trent Cotchin to the proverbial cleaners. Kept him to 15 disposals on the weekend.
And the frustration really showed.
Yeah.
Kane Corns did a
So
brilliant job.
Kane Corns is a very good tagger. And whoever he goes to, you can be guaranteed that their influence will somewhat reduce.
Yeah.
Like I said, Josh, I honestly think Corns should still go to 5.
Okay.
Pavlich to Alapati Carlisle. Port's defender there.
Other way around.
The other way around.
Yep.
I
don't think Pavlich will be playing the defensive forward role there, but
he might. No, he won't.
No, that's a stone cold certainty for me.
4 goals on the weekend from Pav and really got to limit his influence.
Carlisle's a good forward to defend. He's a good defender to go with him because Carlisle's got, he's a little more mobile.
Yeah.
He's not your average big, stocky kind of defender, so that'll be a good matchup.
Absolutely. Suited to a T, really. I mean, he said agile, Pav's agile.
Correct.
He's got the body to go with
good
him.
overhead as well. So
Absolutely.
There we go.
Jay Schultz probably have Silvani for company.
Well, he kicked 6. Did Jay Schultz last time these two teams met 2 weeks ago.
Which was actually a jack-in-the-box performance, because up until that performance, Schultz
He'd been having some poor weeks.
Oh, yeah. For about 5 weeks, and it was out of nowhere. How many did he kick against Richmond? 3, I think.
3,
2 or 3.
Yeah.
So he didn't have a great performance against... He had a good performance, but...
Good research by us.
In a game where Port were lining up,
he
didn't necessarily take him to the cleaners. So it'll be interesting to see if he can replicate that performance.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
And Justin Westhoff, when he does go forward, he'll probably have Zach Dawson following him around, do you think?
Yeah.
Without doubt.
That is a very important matchup because Westhoff does tend to sneak forward.
And he's so versatile.
Well, he sneaks back as well.
Yeah, he sneaks back.
He does everything. You don't notice what he's doing, but he's somehow
you see him playing in the midfield, and all of a sudden he's taking the contested mark up forward.
Yeah.
Guys, moving on to the prediction. Who do we think is going to win this game and why? Vinay, you can kick us off.
Oh, look. This is going to be a 4-quarter game, boys. A 4-quarter game.
Like every other game in the year.
Correct.
Yep.
There are going to be 4 quarters in this game. No, what I think is this game will go right down to the wire, is what I'm trying to say there. And
I knew exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, Port went over there 2 weeks ago and made a really good go of it. They were actually in the lead for the majority of the game up until that 3rd quarter where Freo snuck away from them.
Freo snuck away, Port reeled them back.
Correct. So what that shows me is the fact that Port were ahead for most of that game tells me they really do know how to play Patterson's. They beat West Coast early in the year, so they've had their share of experience there. I think Port will win, boys.
Yeah.
I think Port Adelaide will win this because the footy they played against Richmond was exhilarating.
That first quarter was crazy.
I reckon Freo finishing top 4, but I reckon they will go out in straight sets. And Port are a force to be reckoned with. They've got the power to win, the power to rule. Come on, Port Adelaide aggression. They'll win.
What do you reckon, Josh? How many points?
I'm going to say 1.
1 point. Solitary point.
The old 1.
Josh?
I think this game will be won in the midfield. Both teams have got very, very good midfields. And we spoke about the defensive mids of Kane Corns and Ryan Crowley.
Yep.
Depends on who they go to. Personally, I think Crowley will go to Travis Boak. I just think Crowley's better suited to that inside role rather than the outside role that Robbie
Chasing Robbie
plays.
Gray, yep, you're right. Yep.
And goes forward. Boak spends majority of the time in the midfield.
Yep.
So I think Crowley go to him. Corns, I'll probably agree that he'll go to Fife. But I wouldn't be surprised if Port Adelaide find someone to lock down on Stephen Hill.
Yep.
What do you reckon?
This game just being at Patterson's sends me straight to Fremantle.
Just on the venue.
Just on the venue, yep.
He has been known to do that, Ricard. He has been known to tip people based on the
I don't
venue.
blame people for doing that. With a team like Fremantle.
Well, I mean, Port Adelaide, as funny as it sounds, had a pretty easy run into this game.
Yes. Oh, yeah, okay.
So
Over the Tigers, yeah.
over the Tigers.
That's fair enough. Okay, yep.
So they might expect somewhat the same, and Fremantle just get like
Well, Fremantle's the anti-Port. In terms of
Somehow, I don't think Port Adelaide will be taking this game as easy as you suggest.
Well, do you think it's a close? What's your tip?
Do you have a margin
Do you think
there?
it'll be close?
15 points.
So it won't be
15
close,
points.
really. Oh, sort of.
Oh, that's pretty close if you ask
Nick?
me. I think Port Adelaide will win as well, Vinay.
Okay.
I'm going to say Port Adelaide by 8 points. We talk about Boak, we talk about Gray. I don't think they'll be able to tag them both. I don't think they'll be able to limit the influence of both. I think if one of them is up and about, they'll be able to make the difference in this game and win it. I don't think Port Adelaide will allow Fremantle to kick, 10 goals straight the other week they did?
Yes.
To break away in that third quarter. I think it will be a much tighter game like that. Lockdown contests, and I think Port Adelaide will find a way to win. They'll win by 8 points.
And that brings us to the end of the preview for Fremantle Port Adelaide.
There's a link to the other preview, Geelong vs North Melbourne, and news and views at the end of the video. Thanks for watching.